Hello and welcome back. In this video we are going to discuss about talent, which is the logical step to take after the discussion of the deliberate practice model. Usually there is a war between the researchers, a kind of war between the researchers that are in favor of the talent hypothesis and the ones that are in favor of the deliberate practice hypothesis. So, right after our discussion on deliberate practice, or to contrast that discussion, here comes the talent hypothesis, the nature versus nurture debate, only that now we are approaching it from the side of nature. Talent is the most fascinating subject for many, no doubt about it. It is connected to people we admire, people we wish we were, and is the reason we sometimes feel jealous, which is a good thing because jealousy is a motive to move forward, whereas envy is wishing us for the other party to be harmed. Just to make this clarification. For those reasons, and because many social biases exist regarding talent, the discussion related to talent has become clouded, to say the least. So let us try to make some things straight here. In my main publications, talent has always been a favored subject. It would be interesting to see how I have structured the discussion about talent in my basic handbook. The acceptance of the existence of talent has serious ethical and methodological complications. If talent contributed to exceptional achievements and a performance beyond doubt, as most people are inclined to believe based on observations of highly skilled individuals while performing, then the very structure of education should change. Instead of investing effort in developing educational tools to cover the needs of every individual who wishes to become an expert of some kind, a major part of researchers' energy should be directed to merely screening procedures to identify the talents and to develop them. This does not seem unethical if it were so. In a society that favors utilitarianism, as the resources are limited and the greater good would be served by better experts and not by worse, discriminating between individuals who are going to achieve more by means of their very nature would be the same as discriminating between individuals on the basis of their physical competency and health to become military aircraft pilots, which indeed is the case. Too many people want to fly military jets, but jets are just too few and too expensive. Against this perspective, the first line of defense, as it will be thoroughly discussed here, is to articulate the mechanism of expertise attainment and to see if talent is a major influence in the development of experts. I will argue against this. We will see that the existence of talent cannot, and in fact should not be inferred, but it should be a priori hypothesized. Nevertheless, the current literature that accepts or rejects the talent hypothesis based on observations will be presented, mainly to bring forth possible contradictions and inconsistencies. Talent has many ethical implications as well. For example, it would be unethical to perceive someone as naturally better in a specific ability or domain than their peers without this being the case. Talent will finally be presented as a subjective cultural perspective rather than a reality. So, first we have to define our terms, we have to define talents. Talent designates the outstanding mastery of systematically developed competencies, knowledge and skills, in at least one field of human activity to a degree that places an individual at least among the top 10% of learning peers, all those who have accumulated a similar amount of learning time from either current or past training. And of course, the key word in this definition is the similar amount. People that have similar amount of training but are able to demonstrate better performance. That is what talent is all about. Now, a very related term is the idea or the term of giftedness, which designates the possession and use of untrained and spontaneously expressed outstanding natural abilities or aptitudes, called gifts, in at least one ability domain to a degree that places an individual at least among the top 10% of age peers. So giftedness is related to the possession of skills that are untrained. It's like a natural inclination. So these definitions were given by Gegn. I hope I'm saying that right. There you have the first problem related to criteria. When we have a continuum, that is, when we don't have discrete cases, but all cases are in a line, let's say, why select 10% and not 11% or 12% or 10.1% and so on? So immediately we run into statistics, not biology, since there is no biological mechanism that dictates we should select 10% of the peers, while there are biological mechanisms that do give us an approximation about other phenomena, such as the percentage of homosexual people that are born within any certain population. The same applies to charismatic individuals. That said, great performers do exist, and we have to ask ourselves, how do some individuals reach such great heights in their performance? Because talent is exactly that. Great performance, not something that can be observed separately, such as genes or blood types. In reality, one may measure some things and predict good performance in specific, simplistic circumstances, such as somatometric measures that may reveal a better compatibility between learners and activities such as weightlifting and rowing, but not for complex activities such as tennis, chess, and acting. Uh, it is very usual, for example, that weightlifters are not tall, but rather short individuals because it gives them a biomechanical advantage. But again, even in simple activities, it has been shown to be misleading to count just on some measures to predict performance in the future, that is, talent. So next, we have to analyze to what exactly someone may be said to be a talent, and that something is of course abilities, either mental, physical, or perceptuomotor ones. Mental abilities have a lot to do with how we measure intelligence. Physical abilities are things such as explosive strength, and perceptuomotor are abilities such as aiming or reaction time. Abilities, research has shown since decades, are largely fixed. See the classic twin studies of Klisouras. Even though modern epigenetics has a different view. Anyway, if they are fixed, we can contrast to skills, which are capacities we can develop through practice. Skills combine abilities. It is very difficult and even impossible for complex activities that require a host of skills to reduce complex activities to skills, skills to abilities, and abilities to something more rigid, such as genes. Abilities, either cognitive or physical, are defined to be the simplest distinguishable forms of skills. Even the simplest activities, however, may be said to emerge from still other more basic abilities, not easily distinguishable now, but a more practical distinction will be maintained here. Cognitive and physical abilities are highly interdependent. Moreover, researchers may propose or accept abilities somewhat differently. That is, there is no absolute and global set of abilities, even if there are some abilities widely accepted, from reaction time and dynamic flexibility, which are perceptual, motor, and physical abilities respectively, to mathematical ability. If notions discussed here, such as expertise and giftedness, are intelligible, this is because people perceive actions that are supposed to be attributable to such abilities. Do these abilities really exist? And if this is the case, are they measurable? Do they have a genetic component? Can these abilities be somehow incorporated in the general model of expertise? The question about talent and giftedness becomes increasingly more specific. So, maybe when discussing about, let's say, IQ, one intuitively thinks about fast brain processes. A more adequate concept is statistics, as you see in the next figure that shows the normal distribution. Consider the similarity of the classic normal distribution curve just presented with the distribution of IQs, which is shown in the next figure. This extension of the bell curve to the distribution of natural ability was first proposed by Francis Galton in Hereditary Genius back in 1869, who himself, according to modern measurements, had an estimated IQ score of 200 in relation to his much less gifted, in terms of IQ, older cousin Charles Darwin. Darwin was the cousin of Galton. Darwin, by the same methodology, is found to have an IQ of around 135, according to Simonton, 1999. In the next table, the IQ population prevalence is presented. However, since IQ is a statistical entity comparing age peers, both Galton and Darwin would score less nowadays, that we are, let's say, smarter, or the mean IQ score is higher. IQ was not designed to and cannot measure intelligence or any ability related to it. IQ is measured through a standardized test that reveals the relative performance between populations and individuals that take the test. It measures the relative performance of individuals according to their age group. IQ makes no biological or cognitive measurement. Moreover, IQ curves have another inherent problem if taken literally. Simonton, in the same book of 1999, notes that according to the year 2000's population, more than 500,000 intellects would exist with IQs 340 or higher, if we make the projection from past measurements and trends. So, what other hidden weaknesses could there be in the IQ concept, one wonders, because no one can actually have 340 IQ score. I mean, 200 is already way too much. I mean, it's like one or two individuals in the world might score a bit more than 200, and that is as far as it may go. The issue still remains unclear. There simply has not been enough, if any, research so that after we assessed the talents of individuals and after controlling and restricting all the possible variables, we would follow them closely in the forthcoming years when the subjects were to become experts. However, I argue that even if it were possible to conduct such long-term research programs, even with an adequate amount of individuals, for statistical accuracy, it is still doubtful, contrary to the established scientific method, whether we are entitled to infer cause from any observed effect, because this is called affirming the consequence.